Good morning and welcome. My name is David Ehrlich, NTEA's Director of Education. Special thank you to our monthly webinar sponsor, Eaton. Before we begin, let's take a moment to get familiar with the WebEx presentation platform. The screen is split into two sections. The left side will display content for today's presentation, and the right side shows the control panel. The control panel consists of several panes, but we will concentrate on the Q&A pane. During today's event, you can submit questions directly to me at any time, and they will be addressed at the webinar towards the end. Please note we will provide NTEA members with a link to access a recording of today's webinar, as well as a PDF of the presentation. Before we begin, I would like to share one important announcement. Join us as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of the Work Truck Show in 2020. North America's largest work truck event offers access to world-class education and training, thousands of industry professionals, and new technology on display. Registration is now open. Learn more at worktruckshow.com. Joe Paulson is an accomplished executive located in southern Minnesota. He received his undergraduate degree from Gustavus Adolphus College and his MBA degree through Minnesota State University. During his 24-year business career, Joe experienced several ownership changes from a privately held family-owned business to 3 private equity investment purchases over that time period. He performed many different roles throughout his career, starting with purchasing. From there, he was promoted to sales management and later to operations. His last 8 years culminated with the site general manager position for a $40 million manufacturing company. In 2016, Joe became a professional EOS implementer and became certified in 2018. He has helped over 30 companies implement EOS and continues to pursue his lifelong passion for helping entrepreneurs and their leadership teams become more focused, accountable, and healthy. With all that, I'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Joe.
Okay, thank you, David. I appreciate the kind words and the nice introduction. I'm excited to be here. The first webinar I did with the NTA, I did probably about 2.5 years ago, and this was the title of that webinar is, Are You Running Your Business or Is It Running You? And as I was putting the slides together, I thought, you know what, this one still seems like it's appropriate. And so many entrepreneurs, entrepreneurial business owners, and entrepreneurial-run companies, this is really the common theme that I typically hear, where the business is just starting to get, or maybe it's fully out of your control. And that's what I want to help all entrepreneurial business owners with, and that's what I want to make sure that we do accomplish today. So the title of this webinar is to solve issues like a pro using EOS. And so that's what we're going to do. Issues are everywhere, and I want to make sure that we address how to best solve them so that you can work your way through them and move on to the things that you really focus on for your business. And so the system that I'm going to use is a system called EOS. So I need to first explain and define that. Many of you who are on this call or on the webinar might already know what EOS is. You might be using EOS, you might be using some of the tools, but for those that aren't, I want to make sure that we back up and give that full explanation. So EOS, those 3 funny little words or letters, stand for the Entrepreneurial Operating System. You know, big mouthful word, sounds complicated, sounds high tech, but really what this thing is all about is to make as simple as we can an operating system for you to run and operate your business. This is an operating system that is exclusively designed for entrepreneurs. And what that means is that for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurial run businesses, those are businesses that are focused on the customers. They're fast moving, they're innovative, they're focused on taking care of that customer, delivering the results, making sure that they're accomplishing those things really that are facing that way. And the biggest difference between an entrepreneurial business and others that are, you know, you're going to compare those to corporations possibly or public institutions. And in those instances, the operating systems are typically very complex. They're very intensive. They're very sophisticated in some cases. And so the entrepreneurial operating system is designed to be simple, designed, again, for entrepreneurs. You can learn a lot more about this system and what it's all about in the book Traction. Again, some of you may be familiar with this and have read it, but this basically is the manual for the entrepreneurial operating system, and that's really the basis for everything that we're going to talk about today. So giving you a little bit of a history, or that's a little history of EOS now to kind of bring you to where it is today. There are over 7,100 businesses that are professionally implementing EOS. Those are the ones that we know of. Those are the ones that are coming through EOS worldwide. There's probably 10 times that many that are using it, from people that just picked up the book, or they're finding other ways to implement. They've attended a workshop or a webinar like you are today, and picking up a tool here or there and implementing them into their businesses. EOS is being implemented at least in 8 different countries. So it has become more than just a national thing. It's actually become worldwide or world known. And the one thing I do want to point out for these companies, that these are the 7,100 companies that we're able to track. What we see is that these businesses have increased revenues of, on average, of 18%. Now, I bring that out because that's a number that we can track, but probably the bigger story is all the other benefits that EOS brings into these companies by giving the business owners, the leadership team, that peace and that just having more fun running their business, solving issues, taking better care of their customers. And the last point I do want to make is when it comes to EOS, there are 7,100 businesses, so it is very proven. That's growing at a clip about 30% per year. So it just gets stronger and stronger, but at the same time, 7,100 is just a drop in the bucket in terms of overall businesses in the world. And so those early adopters, people that are attending seminars like this and picking up tools, you will have a competitive advantage over your competition who doesn't or hasn't adopted any of the EOS tools. So that's EOS, that's the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And again, that's going to be kind of the basis for what we're going to talk about today. But really for what I want to see us get out of this, and I hope these are similar goals that you might have, but I have 2 goals for our time together. First of all, I want to change the issue's perception. So many times people hear the word issue or see an issue, they roll their eyes, and they sometimes you just want to go away. You don't want to. You want to avoid it. You want to move on to something else. A lot of times people don't like issues. I want to change that perception. I want to change that perception because great companies are just very good at solving issues. We got to look at issues. This is a positive thing. We got to get them uncovered. When they're uncovered, we need to solve them. And that takes us to the second goal that I have, is to provide a tool to you so that you can effectively solve all of your issues from this point going forward. So those are my 2 goals. That's what we're going to cover over the next 30 minutes or so. And depending on how much time we have left, I have one other request of you. Anyone who is attending the webinar live, if you have an issue that you would like to have help solving, please submit that. David will pick those up and he'll report them back to me, and we'll probably bring you on so that you can participate in that process, as you're going to see me demonstrate here shortly. So here's the kind of the bonus of the day. If you have that big issue, big or small, please put that into the chat box. Love to help you with whatever time we have left at the end of the webinar. So moving on. The first thing we need to do is kind of give you that overview of the EOS model. So EOS, again, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, it starts really with your business in the center. So whatever your business is, that's in the center. That's where all of our focus, of course, needs to be. And EOS was designed and created by a man named Gino Wickman. When Gino first started to work with companies and to help them, what he quickly realized with all the issues that they had floating around in their business, it really came down to strengthening 6 key components. When he could strengthen these 6 key components, all those hundreds and thousands of issues that might be floating around got compartmentalized. Many of them went away. and those that didn't go away, they became much more easy to solve. And so these are the 6 key components of the EOS model. It all starts at the top here in that first pie piece, and that is vision. Vision is getting everybody in your organization on the same page of where you, as the owner, as the entrepreneur, as the leadership team, possibly of your organization, where you want the company to go and how it's going to get there. Sounds pretty straightforward, pretty simple, but those of you who know, who have done visioning, there's a lot more to that. But we have 2 tools that we would help you with to help you discover your vision and make sure that it's something that everybody can rally behind. The second key component is what we call the people component. You can't have a great vision if you don't have great people, and your definition of great is different than every other business. So what we need to do here is we just simply need to be able to define what are great people to you, make sure that we get those right people identified, and make sure that we get them in their seats. Taking a piece from Jim Collins, all the great Jim Collins work. Get the right people on the bus, make sure that they're sitting in the right seat. That's going to define your great people. We just need to do that. That's going to help us execute that vision. The third key component is the data component. You know, this is, how do you know if you're having a good week, if you're having a good month, if you're tracking to the quarter, you're tracking to the year? And more importantly, how do your employees know that? How do they know how they're tracking to the maybe it's the day, the week, the month? And so many times in business and in industry, we talk and we ask the question, how was your day, how'd it go? And we just get these subjective, mushy things that really don't tell us the story. But when we get a strong data component, this is where we have black and white data, numbers, cold, hard numbers that are going to tell us if we're on track, if we're off track, exposing potential issues. Which brings us to the fourth key component, which is the issues key component. This is where we identify what those issues are, we get them set up, and we knock them down so that they go away forever. Obviously, this is where we're going to come back to. I'll talk a lot more about that here shortly. The fifth key component is the process key component. This I like to refer to, this is kind of your insurance policy. This is so that you have your way of doing business. You have your business's secret sauce. There is something unique about how you do all the different processes that makes your business what it is. And what we want to do here is we need to protect that. We need to protect it in case of somebody who's in those particular seats, if for some reason they're not there on any particular day for whatever reason, we need to make sure that we have those processes documented so that we never lose sight of that secret sauce, and that business goes on forever. And then the sixth key component, and definitely not the least, there's a reason why this one's at the bottom of this wheel. That is the traction key component. This is where we instill the discipline and the accountability to ensure that these other 5 key components last and endure forever. You can't have vision. Vision without traction is hallucination. So you can't have vision if you don't have that traction, you don't have the discipline, you don't have the accountability. You're never going to get to where you want to go. We got to build that into your business, into your system. And so that's it. That's at a high level, that's the Entrepreneurial Operating System model. And what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on one of the key components, but that one key component really gets created because of the first 3. The vision, the people, the data component. When you have these strong components in your business and they're operating at a high level, issues just bubble to the surface. And that is a great thing. That's a good thing. That's something that we need. That's going to allow us to really focus on that 4th key component, which is, of course, the issues key component. So the issues key component, diving into this, there's one discipline and one tool that I want to talk you through and explain. So the first discipline that we have a strong issues key component is that we need to be able to produce and create issues lists. And somebody looks at this and says, well, that seems pretty basic. Who can't write a list? Who can't make a list? And you're right, it seems very easy, but this is actually one of the hardest tools that we have on this whole model. And the reason being is that this is where politics comes in. This is where, well, you know what, it's not that big of a deal. I'll just do that myself. It's easier if I just do it myself. Or I don't want to get anyone in trouble, so I'm not going to bring that up in the meeting. I'm just going to kind of keep that to myself, and we'll see how this thing works out. And in good companies, in great companies, we got to get to a point where everybody's comfortable to bring every issue on. Because as you're going to see, when we get those issues on that list, we have a tool to solve every issue. And that brings us to the tool that we're going to talk about today. And this tool is called IDS. Now, IDS is simply an issue solving track. And so this goes back to in Gino Wickman's early days when he was working with these companies. So Gino's originally from, and actually still is from, Detroit, the Detroit area. And so he would work with clients in that area, and of course, being in the automotive, that region, very highly educated type businesses and entrepreneurs, they understood business. And he'd go into some of those, some meetings, into the boardrooms, into their leadership team meetings, and just observe. And what he saw is they would get that issue on the table, which of course is a great thing. So the issue gets on the table, and they would start to discuss that issue. And then they would discuss it, and discuss it, and discuss it, and discuss it, and pretty soon time was up. And they'd all kind of leave the boardroom, and Gino would reach out to him and say, hey, what'd you think of the meeting? How'd it go? Well, it was good. We got some good issues out, we got them on the table, and we had some good discussion. But he looked back and said, but nothing got solved. We didn't get to solutions. So Gino saw this as an opportunity to, I got to help these people out. I got to figure out what is it? Why don't we get to the solution? Why do we spend so much time discussing? And that's when he created the system that we're going to talk about called IDS. And so IDS, the acronym, what this stands for is identify, discuss, and solve. So the way this works is that before we get into any discussion, before we start telling the stories or talking about anything, we need to make sure that we clearly identify what is the root cause. That's the starting point. Then we move to discussion. Then we ultimately solve. And so to break this down, let's start with the identify. So as I mentioned, the first thing we need to do, the main thing that we need to do, this is where you're going to spend the most time when you're solving issues, is to truly identify what is the root cause. What is that root cause? And how we do that, or one way that we need to dive into, is what we call who, what. And the who is basically whose issue is it. The second who is who does it pertain to in that meeting. And then we get to the what. And really the what is that issue? And it needs to be in one sentence. We don't want to start discussing. We don't want to start going down any tangents. We just got to focus on what is the issue. And in order to get to that issue in one sentence, probably the best way to look at it is, where's the pain, or what is the pain? And when we're in businesses, so many times, that pain it can be morale, it can be employee frustration, it can be lack of revenue, missed revenue. It can be profit, it can be customers are upset, but that's where we got to go. Once we focus and get to that root cause, we understand where the pain is, then we're ready to start listing all the facts. And so we just extract all facts. And when we're listing out these facts, what you'll find is there's really not a lot of room to add emotion. We don't need to add emotion. So the facts are facts. We stay away from opinions and hearsay and different things like that. And we just focus on what are the main facts surrounding that particular issue, that pain point. And when we're done with all that, now somebody takes a stab at it. After all those facts are on the board, we got them all listed, somebody jumps at it and says, hey, takes that shot over the bow to identify what they think is the most probable root cause. The thing is, all those facts might be part of the root cause, but there's one main one. What's the first one? What's the one worthy of our time and attention? Let's go after that one first. So we have a leadership team of 5 people. One person says, hey, I think it's whatever that is as the root cause. Now we move into the D, into the discussion. And discussion, what we're using here is, yeah, we want to get everyone's involvement, but we're doing this just to ensure that everybody's in agreement that that is the true root cause. And so we go around the room, we make sure all 5 people are heard, we hear their opinion, hear their voice on this. Do they agree? Do they disagree? Why? What might that be? And then at that point, if there's multiple multiple root causes that people choose, somebody has to make that decision. We have that impasse. That's when the integrator breaks in or jumps in and ultimately breaks the tie. And we all respect that person for being in that seat, and we're gonna go down that. Our voice has been heard, so we feel good about that. But I'm going to respect where the integrator is going to take us first, because that is his or her job, is to make sure that we're moving forward. So now we've gone through the discussion. Discussion goes pretty quick when we're solving that issue. Now we're ready to, and I guess the other fact is that every fact could be a root cause. Knowing that, we're going to start with which one the integrator chooses first, knowing that we could have to come back to some of these others later. Now we're ready to move to solve. And so by moving into solve, here's the thing. We got that root cause identified. We need to list all solutions, every single one, even the crazy ones, even the silly ones, even the ones that we think are really dumb. Those all need to go on the board. We got to get them all out, because when they're all out, that's going to allow us to come back and clean that up and ultimately get there. And sometimes it's that crazy one, the one that seems so silly and so off the wall, that can prompt and bring out what the ultimate solution might end up being. So that's it. Identify, discuss, solve. And to best explain this, I know seeing it on slides, it seems like, well, yeah, there's probably, it almost may seem obvious, but there's just a lot packed in here. And what I wanted to do is give you some examples. And so I've used some. These aren't particularly real, but they're definitely based off of real ones, things that we have solved with other leadership teams, and I thought they would be good examples that we could use here. So the first one I want to use is we're going to pull out what is the what is that first issue that we need to go after. And so it comes out that somebody says, yeah, here's our issue. We have our weekly revenue targets that we need to achieve, the goals for each week, and we missed it last week. So in looking at this, our target is to have a revenue goal of invoicing $100,000 worth of product each week, and we ended up at 75. That's the pain. So yep, revenue off, that definitely feels like there's pain involved there. So I think we got a good issue statement. Let's see if we can dive in. So at this point, we're going to list all the facts. So the first fact, well, as I said, we had a $100,000 goal. We achieved 75, so we missed our revenue target by $25,000 this week. The second fact is when we kind of look back, and so we're just extrapolating pulling on all those facts, everything that we can possibly have. There might be ones that are pertinent for what we have. They're not. Doesn't really matter. Let's just get them all on that list, because that's going to help frame our thoughts on where we need to go to find that root cause. When we look at the trend for the past 6 weeks, we kind of are seeing this downward trend, which that's good to know. That's starting to tell us some of the story. We also are seeing, when we dig into this a little deeper, that we have our largest customer, and you know what? They haven't ordered for the past 6 weeks. So that's starting to help us understand things a little bit clearer. We currently have an open sales position. So this is an opening, a requisition's there, but we haven't filled that yet, and that's a fact that hasn't been filled. The next fact we have is that, boy, there's a softening in the economy, and so this is starting to feel, we're hearing more of it, feels fact, maybe somewhat opinion, but we'll put it on that list that, yep, there's something going on in the economy. We also have somebody bring out the point that, you know what, our prices are too high. Again, maybe it feels a little on that opinion side, but maybe they're hearing some pushback from some of the customers. That's why we didn't get some business. So, let's put that down. Let's see where that goes. We also have that our competition exhibited at the IQ show, and we didn't. And so that's the thought. That obviously must be the reason why we're missing our revenue, because they were there, we weren't, and that could possibly be a problem. And then we go one deeper here, and it comes out that, you know what, all of the salespeople, they all have new trucks. We're driving these old things. That's got to be the thing. Our image isn't what we need it to be, whatever. That's the reason why, or that's why somebody feels is one of the facts why we missed our weekly revenue target. So here we have a bunch of facts. And at this point, you know, the conversation kind of slows down. People aren't contributing any more facts, so we're ready to move on. We're ready to take that stab at what is the true root cause. What do we think is the most probable root cause? So somebody jumps in and says, you know what, I think it's because our prices are too high. That's the root cause. Now this is where we go around. We make sure everybody in the leadership team has their opportunity to discuss it. So everything that we've done up to this point has just been to identify the root cause. Now we're ready to move to discussion. And so now we're going to go to discussion, and we got somebody else, actually a couple of the other members are saying, no, I think our problem that we have is that our largest customer hasn't ordered for 6 weeks. So we kind of have this semi-impasse. One group thinks it's due to the largest customer not ordering. The other feels that our prices are too high. This is where the integrator's got to jump in. The integrator jumps in, breaks the tie, and says, you know what, the one we're going to go with first is that our largest customer hasn't ordered for 6 weeks. So, in looking at this, now we're ready to move on, and we're ready to solve. So again, the issue, the pain that we're feeling is that our weekly revenue target was missed. Our most probable root cause to start with is that our largest customer hasn't ordered for 6 weeks. When we find the true root cause, the solution is always right behind it. If we haven't found it, if we can't find the solution, we probably haven't found the root cause. But in this case, so it seems pretty obvious. So the largest customer hasn't ordered, so we say, what are all possible solutions? Well, one solution, again, we put them all down. Let's find a new large customer. Well, that one might be a little tougher, but we're going to put it on the list. We're going to start there. Then we're going to come to the second solution. Somebody shows up. You know, really, we just need to find out what's going on with this customer. There must be a story behind it. They haven't ordered for 6 weeks. That's not their normal behavior. We got to find out that before we can do anything else. And so now when we come back to these solutions, we just take these, parse these out kind of one at a time. Do we need to find a new large customer? Yeah, it'd be nice, but are we going to really put all the energy and all the time into that right now? I'm not sure that we need to do that. So that one we're going to say, we're just going to table that one or leave that one on the list. Maybe it comes back at a later point. But the one we're going to focus on here, we are going to assign the sales leader the initiative to go on, or to go make contact with the customer, find out what's going on, tell us what we need. So that's it. At this point, we solved this for as far as we can go today. Did we completely solve it? No, we haven't yet. And this is kind of that analogy, you know, using a football analogy. It'd be nice to score touchdowns on every play, but we just can't always count on that. Sometimes we just got to have that 5-yard play. We just got to get 5 yards at a time, keep moving, advancing to the goal line. We're going to get there, and by uncovering more facts, that's allowing us to take it where we need to. So with everything that we have in front of us today, this is as far as we can go. We're done. We're ready to move on. So as you can see, in about a period of 5 minutes, we were able to come up with a solution and move on to the next most important issue that we have for today. So that's an example, and that one you could look at and say, well, that one's kind of easy, and that seemed kind of obvious. So let me give you another example, and this is one that maybe you've heard of, or maybe this is something that you feel in your business where the issue is we can't find quality employees. I had $1 for every time I have heard this, and it's a common issue. But really, when we dive into this, is that truly the issue? Is that the pain? Is the pain that we can't find quality employees, or where's the pain for our business? And when we dive in and dig into this a little bit further, we find out, really what the issue is that we're short-staffed. And so, so we're short-staffed. We're not able to take care of it. We're not meeting our deliveries, so the customers are impacted. We got a morale thing because everyone's overworked and too much overtime, all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, the main issue that we need to solve is that we're short-staffed. Okay, so now diving in, we got our facts. So our facts, and so we have regional unemployment in our area. It's less than 2.5%. That's a big deal. We have our starting wage at $12. I'm not really sure where everyone else is at, but kind of get this feeling maybe that's not high enough. We have 2 open requisitions. We've had 2 ever since June. Our overtime is currently tracking at about greater than 15% per week. We have a turnover rate that is approximately 10%, which, that seems kind of high. We aren't currently conducting exit interviews, or we aren't doing those. We don't offer a 401k program to our employees. Our lunchroom's always dirty, so of course, this has to be partly why we're short-staffed and why we're losing people, because the lunchroom's dirty. We have openings. When we look at these openings that we have, majority of them are in the paint department. And when we look in this, start to ask more questions, probe a little bit further, we find out, what, we've lost 5 employees in the paint department over the past year, which, that certainly is a contributor. When we start to ask more questions, we dive in a little deeper, we find out, what, the paint supervisor that we have is new. She's been in place for less than 6 months, and she didn't have any leadership experience when we put her into that role. We didn't train him or her, and we didn't use a mentor in this case, which may or may not have been part of our procedure. And when we started asking questions about the job description, we realized for the supervisor role, that's really kind of unclear. We're not really clear on what our expectations are and what we expect of our people. So those are all the facts, and at this point we got them all on the board. We have a whole bunch of stuff, and we can go a lot of different directions. And so when we start to extract what do we think is the most probable root cause, well, we come out, first person said it's got to be starting wage. $12 an hour, that just isn't low. That's, we got to get that up. We got to get it to 15 or more, whatever that opinion is. That's where somebody goes first. There's, a second person that says, we're just not offering the same benefits I don't think we're offering the same benefits that our competition is. We need to offer a 401k. That's kind of become this industry standard. We need to do that. That's why we're short-staffed. And then we have a third person that says, what, I think our whole issue that we have for this particular case is that we didn't train our supervisor, and we didn't provide him or her with a mentor when we started. And so, again, we got a little bit of an impasse. We got some good things on the board on that list, and they all might be the root cause. But the most probable one that the integrator is going to choose in this case is that we didn't train our supervisor and we didn't provide a mentor. So now that we know that, everybody's been heard, everybody got everything off their chest, everything's on the table, but somebody's got to make the call. The integrator's going to make the call. This is where we're going to go first. So we're ready to move to solve. So again, our issue is that we're short-staffed. Most probable root cause is that we didn't train that supervisor and we didn't provide a mentor to them, and that might have been, which was part of our process or procedure. So looking for possible solutions, potential solutions. First of all, somebody thought, oh, well, let's fire that paint supervisor. Let's get a new one. That clearly must be the issue, and so we put it down there, and we're just going to explore every possible solution. Don't want to leave any off the list. We have another one that we need to provide that paint supervisor with leadership training. Wow, that seems like a good idea. And then another solution is, let's also make sure that we assign them a mentor so that they have somebody to talk to and can help them through any challenges and struggles that they might have. So at this point, now we have all these solutions, so we just kind of peel these back one at a time. Fires the paint supervisor. Are we really ready to do that? No, we're not. It is a solution, but it's just not the one that we're going to go to yet at this point. So that's leaving us with the last two. And we're going to, both these, we think these are both viable solutions. Let's do them both. We assign ownership. Somebody in the leadership team is going to own one. Somebody else might own the other, vice versa. And there we go. So now we're ready. We feel we've taken this as far as we can for today. But when we go back and look, did we solve our whole issue? We went partly. we got one of the things. So when people are leaving, we've addressed that, but we're still having trouble getting them in. So we can't say that this one's solved. So we've making a second pass at this. And through our second pass, we don't need to address the didn't train supervisors because we got that covered. That's going to be happening here shortly. And in our second pass, we all say, you know what? I think it has to do with that starting wage. $12 an hour, I think that's a concern. So now we're going to dive into that one. And so just jumping right to it, we look at our solutions. One solution, yeah, let's just crank up our starting wage to $15 an hour, whatever you choose. Somebody else throws out, you know what is the market? And so then that prompts the next solution is maybe the first step we need to do is conduct a market analysis. Let's find out what's going on in the market. Where are we stacked up against everyone else? So now that is our solution for today. We may end up increasing our starting wage, but the first thing, the 5-yard play that we got to take is that we need to conduct our market study on starting wages, make sure that we know that we're aligned with the rest of the market. So that is it. So those are two examples. One thing that I wanted to do, I added this slide in here as of yesterday. Yesterday I was with the leadership team and we had one, and so I thought, well, I'm just going to grab a picture of some of the work that they did. I don't think there's anything that's too revealing here, but here was the meeting. We had 19 issues that we solved throughout our session. This was one of them. And the issue came out that they were cutting material that should have been rejected. And I apologize, you're going to have to read my sloppy writing. But as we extracted the pain is that we're cutting this material that should have been rejected. We got to that issue statement. Then we listed down all the facts. One fact that that came out that they don't visually inspect each sheet. When they do have a damaged or a rejected, when they cut that material at that point when it should have been rejected, now it prevents us from being able to return the material. They had a job that cost $12,000 at this, so they're just kind of explaining some more of that pain that we saw. However, in this case, they did work with the customer. The customer was willing to accept with a discount. This happened roughly about 5 times in the past. It came out that, this is a non-documented process right now. We don't have a process. It's easier to inspect at the torch. Here's where we got into the people side. The supervisor for the area, he met with the operator, but actually the operator reports to Isaiah. Okay, Isaiah was aware of this situation, and then the last one is that the operator, Nick, lacked the confidence in making material decisions, reject decisions. So over to the right, what you see is we have a bunch of the solutions, and these aren't crystal clear, but I think you kind of get an idea. We came out of this where one of the leadership team members got a rock, a 90-day objective that they need to do, and one of those things that they need to do here is they need to train Nick, because we circled the main root cause. You can see the 2 items that were starred. Nick lacking confidence, that became the most probable root cause that we went after first. And so that became one of the solutions, is to train Nick. Steve took that rock. Matt took a 7-day to-do that it came out that Nick didn't have the tools. His flashlight wasn't bright enough to be able to see defects. And then we got into what is really the big one. And this is where we realized that Nick may not be the guy that can fit into that role. And so the PA is that this is another EOS tool, that we need to people analyze Nick. We need to really evaluate, is he the right person? Is he going to be able to gain that confidence to make the right decisions that we need to go forward? And so that became another rock, is to people analyze Nick, which really got into the true depth of where we needed to go. These other things are good. We need to do those things. But at the end of the day, the ultimate solution or the ultimate root cause might be that he's the wrong person in that particular seat. We need to make that fix. That's going to help us where we need to go. So with that, that's really where I wanted to go today. We have about 5 minutes left. If anybody does have a live example, we could take a quick pass. I know we don't have a lot of time, but we could sure take a run through and see if we can kind of help at least extract out what that true issue statement might be. So did anybody have any issue examples that they wanted to help get solved today? You did.
Joe, it's kind of interesting. We did get a couple. One was recruitment issues and one was retention issues, but you covered those
Okay.
very much in depth. So I don't think we need to kind of go over those. So those were a couple that we got, and you just so happened to kind of go over them. So haven't
Cool.
gotten any others.
Okay, well, with that, and those are obviously common, so they come up quite a bit. And if what we had for an example, if that didn't prompt enough for you, and you want to give me a call and talk through more, I'd love to help you in any way I can. So with that, I think with the time we have left, it probably would be appropriate to wrap up. And so the goals for today, we had two, if you remember. One is to change the issues perception. I hope from what you heard today, you're no longer going to run away from issues, but run right into them. And look for them, seek them out. Issues are good. We need them. That's the only way we're going to make our company and our business better and stronger. We need to get them on the table. And then hopefully you now see that you have a tool to effectively solve those issues. And of course, that is the IDS tool. Use it. It's an acquired tool. It's not something that you can just do one time and be perfect at it. It's something you need to practice at, and the more you do, the more you're going to get comfortable with, the more issues you're going to solve. So I hope you're in agreement that those goals have been met for today. And with that, what I do want to share with you is really next steps. Where do you go from here? As I mentioned, step one, just IDS your next issue. Whatever that issue is, practice it daily, do it this afternoon. Identify that root cause, make sure you find where that pain is, list the facts, get to use discussion to make sure everybody gets their chance to speak and voice their opinion, and then move to solutions. Don't be disappointed if you don't score that touchdown. 5 yards is always a good play. The second thing, I want to encourage you to attend the EOS workshop that's going to be at the Work Truck Show in Indianapolis. So it is slated for March 4th, 9:30 to 10:45. We're going to go into all the tools in depth a lot further than we did today, and of course we'll cover the issues key component as well. And then if you're looking at this and you'd like some help, you want some professional EOS implementation help, I would love to line you up. We have over 333 EOS implementers currently throughout the United States and in those 8 countries that I mentioned. So there should be an implementer close to you. I'd love to set you up or to align you with somebody suitable that I am aware of that can help you. So if I can help in any ways, please reach out. I'd be glad to point you in a direction. And if you notice on that, every implementation always starts with a free 90-minute meeting, so there's no obligation. You're going to learn more about it, about them. They're going to learn more about you. You're going to get some of these tools directly from that initial meeting. So with that, if anybody has any other questions, you certainly can push those through and David can relay them to me. Otherwise, I thank you very much for your time. Please reach out to me. Again, as David mentioned at the intro, my desire is to help entrepreneurial business owners in any way possible. I would be happy to assist you in any way. I'd be honored to be able to help you on your entrepreneurial operating system journey.
Joe, thank you so much. It appears that we have run right up to our time limit here. So I hope that everyone has found this webinar informative. We'll be emailing you a brief survey and hope you can fill that out to help us continue improving this good service. You'll also receive a link to locate today's presentation in PDF, as well as a recording of the webinar. So, Joe, thank you again, and thank you all for joining us, and I hope you have a great day.